Hey, I'm Chanel Moore, and today I'm going to be talking to you about Covenant Christian Academy's social media implementation plan. In our time, I'm going to share the background from the idea, the goals and strategies, action plan and timeline, communicating results, resources, monitoring the data, conclusion, and some references. So, the project background. As an employee of Covenant Christian Academy, one question I wanted to ask the organization was, what are your current needs? Throughout data collection, I found that the current needs were more personnel, community involvement, and a better social media presence. So the question was, why create a social media plan? Well, it's multifaceted. A social media plan can be used towards marketing, it can be used towards fundraising, and it can be used to grow community involvement, which were all goals that Covenant Christian Academy had. So the question is, how do you develop this type of plan? Well, Covenant could take 3 steps in its implementation plan for social media. The first step, develop a social media team. This team will be selected by the administrative team, and it works out because Covenant actually found out that their current social media consultant would not be available to help as much as she had been. So the team will be able to pick up where she left off and continue to market, advertise, and use social media. Secondly, create a social media calendar because Covenant is a smaller school. A lot of the people there do serve in other roles. So, this calendar would be very important to help them focus on what they need to focus on when it comes to social media, to know what content needs to be posted on what dates, to know what days they need to come back and analyze data, and so forth. And thirdly, involve board members and staff members or staff in general. Covenant is always looking to have a more active board. Therefore, having them involved in the social media process would actually benefit the organization. We all have different spheres of influence, so having each person like or share or even post about Covenant in a positive way could be a benefit to the organization and an organization's outreach altogether. So the next step for Covenant is to make sure they have an action plan. And in this action plan to have SMART objectives. So the following SMART objectives are specific to Covenant Christian Academy's overall vision and goals. Its SMART objectives should be specific to what they want to accomplish in social media, measurable. How can you measure the metrics and the social media metrics for the participation of their clientele? Achievable. The goal is to achieve increased involvement through their social media accounts. Relevant. The relevant goal is to use social media accounts to encourage school awareness and activity amongst the community. And time-based. The goal is to have a strategic plan in place within 2 weeks of receiving the current social media analytics that they need and the school's current event calendars to pair up the two. The timeline has to fit Covenant's schedule and needs to be specific as well. So the social media plan will coincide with the school's event calendar. Although the plan will be drafted based on upcoming events for the school will essentially create an interchangeable calendar so that they can change out themes for the month or different focus for events. So for example, if it's going to be the month of January that they're making this plan for, that you're making this plan for, then you might want to focus on new beginnings and all your theme posts being involved with new beginnings. If it were, say, November, you might want to focus on gratitude and posts that focus on that for your community. Secondly, the timeline that is being presented is an 8-week implementation plan. The first week is presenting the project proposal and making sure you're on the same page here. The second and third week will be completing the questionnaire, finalizing implementation plans, and discussing future data collection needs. So we'll need social media analytics, we'll need content for posts and school event calendars. And all of this needs to be done and brought together in congruence with what we've accepted or realized from the data, what we're implementing from the data, and moving forward with it. In week 3 and 4, we're still creating that social media content calendar to correlate with upcoming school events. Week 4 and 5, we're collecting and analyzing the data from the school's media analytics. Drafting posts for monthly themes will be presented as well because as a school and as an organization, first, the posts have to be approved. So we're going to spend week 5 making sure we have posts and themes that will be approved by administration to be able to be sent out and posted In week 6 is the content calendar being created so that we know the peak activity times for the target audience. So in week 6, we've got all the social media analytics. We've got all the data. We know the busy times. We know the active times for our clientele, and we're posting and scheduling posts during those times. And we're scheduling these posts on Instagram, on Facebook. And in week 7, we're continuing to use those posts. We continue to use those analytics to schedule posts and get them out at their busiest times, at their most active times for our constituents. In week 8, we're going to begin to take the documentation that we had from the beginning of the project and to the end of the project to compare and contrast. We're going to take it and report what we've seen in increase of, what people have most responded to, and really how this plan, how this 8-week implementation plan has caused a great amount of activity for our social media community when it comes to our school, when it comes to the organization. How do we communicate the results is a big question. So the social media team will already be together. They will have started already with graphs and charts that are already specific to what the involvement was like before implementing the plan. So the media team will create a graph that generally details the school's social media involvement based on its current analytics before the plan. After the 8-week implementation plan, the team will create a new graph that shows the increase of social media participation after incorporating the social media plan. And then they will come together and create a brief synopsis on the increase of posts by the organization and involvement from the organization's social media community, because this is going to be data that the board is going to want to see. This is going to be data that the administrative team is going to want to see. And so we want to make sure we have a visual aid in the graphs and charts that shows it, but also some written support that could be supplemental material as well to show the increase since incorporating this implementation plan. What are the resources that Covenant needs? Covenant is a small school again. Covenant also has some limited resources, but we do have resources. So what's important is to acknowledge how Covenant can use its social media analytics, how it can use online calendars, photos, videos, etc., and other media content, and Google and OneDrive accounts. Social media analytics. Covenant has a business suite on the Meta platform, which is Facebook and Instagram together. Because they have a business suite, whenever Covenant posts, you can already go in and monitor how the posts are doing. You can post through Instagram, on Facebook, and go ahead and get the analytics for those posts. That is already available to you, and it is actually a free resource that the business suite of Meta has. So you can use that. They already have online calendars. Since it is going to be very important for the social media team to come together to draft a calendar for content and for days that they need to revisit and check analytics and schedule posts, use the online platforms that are already available. Google and OneDrive will have these calendars available, and photos, videos, and media content. Google and OneDrive will have this availability to be able to just create folders and share the media content, share the calendars in, and that way those who are on the social media team can have access wherever they are to the content and the calendars that they need and go from there. How are we going to monitor this? Again, success will be measured based on the following social analytics: shares, likes, subscribers, and followers. So again, through Meta Business Suite that Covenant Christian Academy has, they can go in and see how many people have shared a post. They can go in and see how many people have liked a post, how many maybe subscribers that they have, or followers. Since the focus will be on Facebook and Instagram, they'll be looking at followers and not subscribers. However, the data will be there for them to go in. They can go in and see what posts people shared the most, what posts they liked the most, and begin to think about how to draft content that is specific to those things that people express the most like and interest in. In conclusion, based on the questionnaire that Covenant Christian Academy filled out before starting this process, it was clear that they had some internal monitoring needs and really a need for personnel and social media presence and some other things. The beauty is that Covenant knows this and knows the need to have more data collection and has a desire and knows the importance of having an active social media presence. So, a few things that Covenant can begin to implement with the resources it already has is a dedicated personnel as a social media team for the organization. It doesn't have to be a big team. It could be 3 people, 2 people responsible for posts and 1 person responsible for analytics, or vice versa. Since it is small, I do believe that this is something that 1 person could be able to do eventually with the proper implementation plan in place. Secondly, a content calendar that can be worked from in order to maintain its consistency of posts. Whoever is on the social media team won't have to spend a lot of time thinking about what to post if they have a content calendar that tells them already what content should be going out that day and at what times. Splitting the task as a team is going to be really big because, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people at Covenant already do several jobs. So it's going to be really important to make sure that the social media team can split up the task so that they can not get burned out and so that they can just have equal parts in it. Again, eventually, this will be something that 1 person could be responsible for. But until then, it is very important to make sure the tasks are split up and have the accountability that each person needs to work throughout the plan and to make sure they stay consistent with the plan. Lastly, involving the board and current community in its social media outreach is going to be huge. As I stated earlier, we all have different spheres of influence. So, having all the board members and having all staff members being able to share posts to their outreach, to their network, multiplies versus just only having the school share and like and expect families alone to like it or share it. Better involvement with the board will make a big difference. And it will make the board feel more active and more engaged and less like they're just observers of what's taking place. Again, I'd like to just say thank you for your time and for hearing this implementation plan. On the next slide, you will see references that really are pertinent to the written form of this implementation plan that share the importance of a good online presence and how to use those social media analytics to your favor. Thank you so much.